So we started, Smart Africa started in 2013. It became as an intent from head of state, 7 presidents who gathered here in Kigali under the invitation of His Excellency President Paul Kagame to create a vision for Africa, a vision of integration using technology. The leaders invited other head of state to come and join the journey, and today we have 40 member states engaged and fully part of this digital transformation in the continent. And this journey of growth started with a secretariat which was established through a host country agreement with Rwanda, and we started from literally 2 employees to now over 50 people with a wide different level of expertise on different topics: digital infrastructure, digital payment, digital ID, capacity building on the wide spectrum of the subject, and many other topics, including cybersecurity, data centers, and so on and so forth. So what we do, and what is again the particularity about Smart Africa, that we focus on regional projects. The type of project that Smart Africa does is where member states need work with an organization that has the ability to bring all the member states together, and that's why Smart Africa was actually conceived as an organization that can bring everyone together and facilitate this type of conversation to implement those infrastructure or those services in the continent on behalf and for the countries, and working with the private sector. So Smart Africa is not simply an NGO, it's a multilateral organization that brings the public sector, the private sector, but also a wide array of organizations that are interested to advance the digital economy in Africa. So we have a special status, not just as an NGO, but I'll say as a multilateral organization that can translate also sometime in international non-profit organization. Our uniqueness, coming back to your question, is that we are a multi-stakeholder organization, and we've centered our focus to citizens to ensure that they actively participate into digital transformation and they can benefit for their socio-economic development. So as I mentioned, we have different type of members. First of all is the public sector. So we work with member states, and we approach countries who see themselves in the vision of Smart Africa. So as I mentioned, we had 7 countries, now it's 40 countries, and still growing, representing today a market of about 1.1 billion people. But it's not only the public sector, it's also the private sector. So we have a wide range of organizations, very large tech companies, medium, small, even startups, who join Smart Africa because they want to be actively partaking into this vision of creating a single digital market for Africa. And it's not all. We have the development partners, we have NGOs, we have foundations with whom we work. And all of them, again, compare it to a building, and there are different pieces that are needed to build a building, right? So everyone brings a certain perspective that is needed to create and to materialize this vision of a single digital market in Africa. Okay, first of all, connect, innovate, transform and accelerate is our new strategy. It's the 2023-2025 Smart Africa Triennial Strategy that we're currently implementing. So connect focus on what we call the lower layers, the infrastructure which is needed, because we cannot talk about digital transformation without connectivity, without data centers, without cybersecurity. So all of that are important core infrastructure which are there at the bottom. So we have a big focus on that. The second focus we have is transform. Why? Because once you put that infrastructure, it need to be used for the citizen. It need to be to facilitate access to services. So that's why you bring, and those people need to be known. So that's why the digital ID need to be in place. Those people need to be able to transact. So that's where digital services come. Those people need to be able to pay. So that's where digital payment comes. So all of them sit on the bottom infrastructure that I mentioned earlier, data centers, connectivity, and so on. And that's where innovation really takes place, right? Because when you have those systems, and that's why the private sector role is becoming important, because they're the one driving payment, driving these transactions which are taking place along with the public sector. Now, the third layer is what we call innovate, and our approach to innovation is skills and capacity building, because different from other sectors, our sector, the tech sector, is very talent intensive. You cannot talk about all of that without people being trained. And those training, capacity building is all layers: policymakers, entrepreneurs, the youth, the people consuming the services. So that's why we have the third focus, which is innovate. And lastly, but not last, is the accelerate, because countries in Africa are at different levels of digitization. There are countries which are known for a decade or two of being very proactive in leading the transformation, but there are also some who are still starting this journey. So the Accelerate program, which is our fourth program, really serves at supporting countries and ensuring that no one is left behind. At the level of policy, strategy, project implementation. So we bring all the four components under the 3-year strategy or the triennial strategy of Smart Africa. So our projects are defined through a standard process. The first step is we engage countries, because those priorities are coming from the member state of Smart Africa. The countries express their interest, and they even rate the importance of different initiatives. So those ones which are meeting the highest level of interest from countries as part of, remember, that vision of creating a single digital market for Africa, those are the ones we retain, because we cannot do everything. The digital space is very vast, so we have to prioritize which one will be the most impactful. A little bit of like the 2080 rule, where 20% of those projects will have 80% of impact. So those the one we focus, and it goes through different level of approvals from the different stakeholders. We have ministers of ICT, we have telecom regulators, we have IT agencies, cybersecurity agencies. So all this, the dialogue is a bottom-up, and it goes all the way up to the approval by the steering committee of Smart Africa, and finished by the approval of the board. So that's why we define our strategy, and that's how we now move into the implementation of those different initiatives. Earlier I mentioned that Smart Africa, using a very inclusive process, developed its triennial strategy. And again, these are our 40 member state strategy that I reflected into the Smart Africa triennial strategy. Once we know what we want to do, we have a clear vision, we have clear program, we have clear project, we don't stop there. We bring in partners, and this includes the private sector, this includes the development partner, and many more, who share a certain percentage or certain aspect of this strategy. So we have dialogues, we have roundtables where we engage our partners. Sometimes we have dedicated conversation with very specific partners who are interested. And interest from a partner will be different from another one. Some development foundation organization like the European Union, the German Development Corporation, the French Development Agency, you can name it, who are in that space, they have different interests. So we have very dedicated conversation where we find intersection point, and we work with them now to translate them into funded projects and implementing them. So that's one way that has been used until now, and we're happy that we've been able to achieve a lot of results through such collaboration and partnership.